Anyway, before we get started tonight, I'm going to do a reading I picked from Each Day, New Beginning, the meditation book for women. It's a reading from July 30th. God's presence is within each and every one of us, now and always. Even though we feel alone, alienated, scared, and forgotten much of the time, we often overlook God's presence because we don't recognize it. Our talents, our desires, and our pursuits are the evidence. All the evidence we'll ever need once we understand it, that God is present within and about us all the time. The creative potential goes unrealized among so many of us, perhaps because we have a rigid definition of what creativity is. We are creative. We are all, each of us, creative. We must be because God's presence is here now. We choose to let it guide us. We'll be able to offer our own unique gifts to the world. Encouraging creativity, our own and someone else's, may mean breaking old habits. It surely does mean stepping out of our own way. It also means giving ourselves fully to the experience of the moment and trusting that God's presence will prompt the deliverance of our spiritual gift. In the moment lives God within us. In the moment, I am creative, blessed with gifts like no other. I will stay in the moment and offer them, guided by the gift of God within me. I wanted to read that tonight because I want to do something a little bit different tonight. I want to talk about codependency and relationships, but I want to kind of take it from a different perspective. Two of the words I want to talk about tonight are codependency and interdependency. Everything we do in life, you have to realize this. We live in a world that by nature is dysfunctional. We as human beings by nature are somewhat dysfunctional. Most of us, I might as well say it, 99 and 44%, 100% pure of all of us have come from some sort of a dysfunctional family. So dysfunctionality is not a bad word. Dysfunctionality is normal. And actually, in reality, one of the things we have to learn, and that's that concept of codependency versus interdependency, because codependency is the concept that I am dependent on something, but it's almost like it consumes me, it becomes part of me, and I can't live without it. Otherwise, but at the same time, it makes my life unmanageable, it makes my life crazy. Interdependency is my connection to things in life that are necessary, but if for some reason they leave, I've learned the gift of adjustment, be able to adjust to something new. So the concept is the letting go, being able to make adjustment, the gift of acceptance. All these things are part of the gift of interdependency. For example, tonight we are interdependent on the Wi-Fi, or interdependent on technology. If for some reason tonight the Wi-Fi in my house went out, then this lecture will come to an end. I'd have no choice about it. And then I'd have to adjust. And so everything in life means that I have to be able to look at things in life and realize the fact that everything is either in process of changing, becoming something new, or fundamentally, if I try to hold on to something, and there's an old saying, if you try to hold on too tight, eventually you'll destroy it. That comes to relationships, and all relationships begin on a foundation. I've said this about 400,000 times. The ultimate relationship that we have in life is the one that we have with ourselves. And relationship begins at the moment of birth. Whether we realize it or not, we all go through stages in our life. At birth, as a child, a small child, we are very dependent. We're interdependent on our families. At the same time, I also have some forms of codependency Because basically, as a child, especially when I'm born, if I wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning and I'm hungry, I'm not going to lay there and say, I don't want to bother mommy and daddy because they're sleeping. I'm hungry. Bring me food. And I'm going to let you know that I'm here so you can bring it to me. That's normal. That's a form of codependency because I am so connected to that family for my needs. Then as I grow, that process is supposed to change. Everything in life is supposed to change. But in reality, as a child, if we go back to the first 10 years of our life, that's where we learn the aspects of codependency versus interdependency. For example, as a child, remember, I'm a little child. The adults around me are the giants. As a child, I look at them and say, whatever the giants tell me to do, I'm going to become. So where do I get my concept of relationships as a child? I get it from what I see, what I'm told, what I experience, and what I am able basically to see in the role models that are around me. In my family system and growing up, my role models weren't the greatest. My role models were loud, a little crazy. Basically they constantly use things like guilt and fear and stuff to that effect. So they kind of became normal. So as you experience things, they become normal in your life. Then you take them into all different relationships in different areas of life. Because I believe in this very deeply. You attract into your life what's going on inside of you. So if you're totally negative and you learn that negativity is normal, then you will attract negative into your life. If you think control is normal, then you'll become a controller, or you allow others to control you. If my normal is abuse, then I'll either become an abuser or I'll allow someone else to abuse me. Because these are my normals. I pick them up as I come along. And so as a result, then, I begin to experience my terms of codependency in my roots and my foundations. Then I go into my adolescence and my growth process. I go through my rebellion stage. And that's not necessarily in teenage years either. For many of us, the rebellion stage came a long time later. For me, my adolescence took place around age 35, 36, 37. My adolescence took place and my rebellion stage took place in my late 30s and early 40s. It had to happen sooner or later. But literally before then, I was frozen, I was shut down, and I basically was stuck in a pattern. Now, codependency is being stuck in a pattern. In my own life, I was stuck in the pattern of performance, image, everything on the outside. So my relationship was to make everybody else think I had my act all together. And by doing that, I created little fantasies, different types of things to be able to function and get through life. And we call that survival skills, trying to make it through. And as a result, that then becomes our normal. And so the concept of it is then, as I go through the journey of life, I have to learn the whole concept. So relationships, then I look at things from different perspectives. Physically, I see the concept of attraction, which is normal. But again, if I base everything simply on the physical, it's only a matter of time it's going to come to an end, because I think it always has to stay this way. But then things happen like aging and good odds and ends come along. Your body changes, things happen, and we have to make adjustments constantly. You begin to find out that you begin to go through different periods of life, and you can go through them normally and naturally, but nobody does. You usually go through them fighting and battling, screaming and yelling. Acceptance never comes simply. Oh, it can come intellectually, yes. But acceptance, grieving, saying goodbye, opening up new doors and new directions. I have to begin the process of breaking away from the old. How many times do we want to go back to the old? I don't like this thing of responsibility. I want to go back to being irresponsible. I want to go back to somebody else doing it for me. So what do? In codependency, I'm great at playing what I call the blame game. By the way, I got to tell you, it's a lot of fun. See, I can blame everybody else for what's going on in my life. I can blame society. I can blame everything around me. I can blame the church. I can blame this, my family. Oh, God, to beat the hell out of them. Not a problem at all. I can blame everybody. You see, the bottom line is this. Here's the ultimate codependent. I want them to change, not me. Therefore, I want the whole entire institution to change so it will conform to what I want it to be. So therefore, I'm going to drive myself crazy. I did it when I was in therapy, and my therapist was very patient. Thank God that he was. I used to say things like, if only the Catholic Church would change all their laws, especially the ones on celibacy, then I would be okay. Now, that's a very reasonable request, I would think. Don't you think so, Pat? Very reasonable. If the whole damn institution would change just for me, then I would be happy. That's a high form of codependency. I want to control the institution. I want to control the world. I want to control the people around me. I want to fix everything. I want to play the role of God. And many of us get caught up in that. But then life comes in and we have experiences. We begin to learn as we grow. And I love this because I really believe we do our learning, we do our growing as we learn this beautiful thing called a relationship with myself and with others. And people come into my life to be teachers. Things happen. We go through changes. It's part of the mosaic, the concept of life. And what's so beautiful about it is, if I really am able to live in the place of interdependency, then I'm able to basically deal with things in the course of life and be able to use them in a proper way. For example, one of the hardest things for us to do is to accept the reality of what is, make adjustments accordingly, be open to new things and new directions, and realize the fact that even as we go through loss in life, are we able to rebound? We normally do, and sometimes it takes time. A good example, parents know the rules are supposed to be, we're supposed to leave this earth before our children. But sometimes that doesn't happen. And as a result, it interferes with what we think is supposed to be the natural life cycle. And then we begin to experience pain and loss. We have a hard time adjusting. Parents have a hard time with this because as their children grow up, sometimes we don't want them to grow up. So what do? Try to keep them in the nest. Animals, birds, different types of creatures understand this much better than we do. The only people that are really codependent, guess what? Are humans. Because we try to control everything. Even birds know when it's time to let them go. Let them fly, let them move on. Goodbye, let them go. But we don't want to let go. We want to hold on. Because I want things to be the way I want them to be. As soon as you do that, you're in a lock of codependency. Interdependency means I'm open to the flow of where life is going to take me. And I realize even my children, other members of my family and other people have to go through their experiences. and go through the things they have to go through in life to do their growing, to do their learning, to be able to mature, to move forward, to be able to deal with life. And adjustment is the hardest thing in the world to do. So when it comes to relationships, we have to learn the art of adjustment. Even when it comes to an interpersonal relationship with a wife, husband, partner, individuals in life, children, no matter where they are, we're human beings interacting with each other, learning from each other. And we have to go through different experiences. Some are going to be sad. Some are going to be scary. Some will be beautiful. Some will be fantastic. It'll be a combination of them all. Everything in life has the yin and the yin and the yang. Has that combination of negative and positive. So a part of it. We're all different, but every one of us has inside of us talents, gifts, and beautiful things to bring to this world. But what happens? Codependency means I am the enemy of my own relationships. I deny my own traits, my own characteristics. I'm afraid to really put them out there. I'm afraid to make a mistake. I'm afraid to learn by experience. I'm afraid to be able to put myself out there and get hurt. Getting hurt is part of growth. You see, you go to Crazy Gym, they have those signs up there that say, no pain, no gain. Everything in life has struggle involved in it. And so if I'm going to be able to continue growing, I have to realize the fact that maturing and growing means to be able to continue the journey, to take risks, to learn new things, to screw up, all part of life. And yet, what do? Many of us want everything to be perfect. I don't want my children to go through what I went through. Why not? You became who you are today through your experiences. Remember my father telling me stories. My father was in the First World War in the Italian cavalry. And that's back in the days when they still rode horses and charged each other. And my father's battalion, or his regiment, whatever they had to call it back then, basically was wiped out in a skirmish they had. The only way he survived was by crawling under the dead bodies. And he laid under those bodies for hour after hour after hour until he was able finally to get out of there and be safe. Now that's a powerful experience. It's a scarring experience. It's something I know he carried with him for the rest of his life. And yet, it was a survival experience. He had to make an adjustment. Now, many of us were able to do this. A good example of this was in the Philadelphia Inquirer way back in, I think it was 1997 or 98, I forget when. But it's a story that was in the Inquirer, and it was really built up. This father was sitting on the front porch of his house in North Philadelphia, and his son was working on his car at the curb. And as he was under the car working on it, the jack on the car slipped, and the car fell on his legs. The father, in a split second, no thinking involved, ran down, lifted the car up. The son dragged himself out, and he put the car back down. Now, they came later on and they said, show us how you did that. Do it again. Of course he couldn't do it again. What he did was the impossible. And yet, you know what? Because of love, the energy of love for his son, it became so powerful. He was able to do something that's totally impossible to do. And of course, he's not going to be able to do it again. The bottom line is, it's amazing what happens, because what gets in our way all the time of all of our relationships? We think too much. We try to figure it out, try to analyze it. You know, I want you to be what I want you to be. I want this to be that. I want this to be this way, that way. I want things to go the way I want them to go. You know what's so beautiful about faith and trust, acceptance, love, all those fancy, beautiful words? If you allow things to happen, they flow where they're supposed to flow, not where you want them to flow. That's called interdependency. It means letting go and letting things flow where they're supposed to flow. And you know what's so powerful about that? They're never going to go totally the way you want them to go. Isn't that amazing? And yet it's true. Unless we're lost and different things come into life. And yes, we have to be able to go through the struggles, the pain sometimes, the growth, be able to experience the other side. You know, I look at this so beautiful when I talk about relationships, because I'm learning finally that the ultimate relationship I have is this relationship with me. And I know that sometimes you just have to take those risks and go out there. And I share this with you so many times in the course of my journey. When I was a priest, I was so damn rigid, my early years especially. And I would write my sermons out, word for word, have somebody edit them, make sure they were perfect, practice them from the pulpit in the empty church, and get up on Sunday and they were boring as hell. When I got into recovery, they talked about speaking from your heart. Like I told Loretta this morning, I want to do a different talk on relationships today. She said, what are you going to say? I said, I don't know. I'm saying some prayers and giving it to God, and we'll see where it goes. And for some reason, this morning, I was sitting in my sunroom doing my morning meditation, and I had to post something. So I posted, and all of a sudden, don't ask me why, I posted about the two words, codependency and interdependency. Where'd that come from? It came from someone giving me something to talk about, to connect with today. And all of a sudden, everything changed. If you go back and look at the talk I gave on codependency and relationships last year, what I'm saying about today is totally different from last year. And I'm learning over and over again, if you really come from your core, from your center, from your heart, whatever comes out, because guess what? Everything's in there, just as it is in you. But what's the hindrance? The hindrance is us. My fear of making a mistake, my fear of not getting it, my fear of this, not to have the faith and the trust and realize that everything will flow out when it's supposed to flow out. And the message will be there when it's supposed to be there. And sometimes, do you ever get in situations where you don't know what to say? You kind of cringe on the inside. You're trying to figure out in your head the proper thing to say. And maybe the most beautiful thing in the world to say is, I'm here. I love you. I'll give somebody a hug. Just let them know your presence. Maybe that's all you can say. Because we speak not only by our words, we speak by our actions, we speak by our body language, we speak by the gift of who we are, we speak in all different ways. You know, I can tell when Loretta's aggravated at me. I can tell right away. You know, because she has certain body language. It tells me that. I know all these different things. You learn that in relationships. That's what relationships are all about. We learn from one another. My wife will do it to me all the time. She'll say, all right, come on. What's going on? What's in your mind? Something's going on. She says, I can smell it. It's burning up there. Get it out. It's amazing how we get to know each other. We get the feel, the connections, stuff to that effect. That's what's beautiful about relationships. And that's why what I've learned, and I try to say it over and over again, we live in a world of humans, in a world of humanity. And we have to learn the fact that every one of us is a gift. And every one of us is gifted and talented. Yes, many of us make mistakes, and sometimes we have to make pretty big mistakes. And we even go through sometimes things like prison and go through different things in life, to go through a powerful learning experience. Some of us are able to go through it and come on the other side. Some of us get stuck and stay in that cocoon for the rest of our life. We're afraid to become a butterfly. We're afraid to let it out. We're afraid to grow. We're afraid of new things and new directions. And if we do that, then we are going to become stale and stagnant. And then you're not alive. You're not living. You're functioning. Yes, there are plenty of us that function. We just sit around and wait for the undertaker to come and pick us up. Many of us have died, don't even know we've died. We ain't got enough guts to fall over. The bottom line is, I can be dead spiritually. I can be dead emotionally. I just haven't finished the product physically yet. But the beautiful thing about life is, and relationships are the gifts of life. That's what we learn. That's what we experience. And our connection with others around us. We learn from different people we meet in the course of our journey. I look around here at the people I meet, the people I get connected with. I see beautiful things and experiences, but every one of us is different. Thank God. Would you want to be the same as everybody else and be a robot? I don't think so. I don't think Leslie wants to do that. Do you, Leslie? I didn't think so. I even think Charlie would, although sometimes I don't know. But anyway, the bottom line is, the thing is, we have to be able to have that gift of laughter, that gift of, it's almost like having that moxie to live and enjoy the excitement of life. And yes, you're going to screw up. Screwing up is wonderful. You got to make up after you screw up. See how simple it is? It's not too complicated. But I think that's the biggest fear. I want to get it right all the time. Well, if you're going to do that, you're in trouble. You're not going to get it right all the time. Everything changes. Things are moving on. I told you this story so many times, and I love doing it. I can't help it. When I was a priest, I conducted a lot of weddings. I love weddings. They're fantastic. They're wonderful. Today they're a little crazy because, people get nuts and ready. But anyway, I got this beautiful couple in front of me, and they say to one another, it's so beautiful, so romantic. I promise to love you the way I love you today, to the day I die. Now, if that's true, I got to shoot them before they leave the altar. The minute they turn around and walk down the aisle, it's already changed. It's going to keep changing as they begin to interact with each other, connect with each other, physically, emotionally, all different areas of life. They're going to go through turmoil. They're going to go through struggles. They're going to go through things in life. That's what relationships are all about. And if I have a sense of my interdependency, I realize I'm going to allow that to happen. I'm going to adjust. That's what interdependency is. It's acceptance, it's adjustment, and it's learning, going through experience and going through growth. Codependency is being stuck, being trapped, and being afraid to move forward. And as a result, then we play that game where I want everybody else to do it for me, the blame game, or I get caught up in the concept that I want everybody to be what I want them to be, the control game, the fear game. I don't know about you. I don't want to live that way. I don't want to live in fear. I want to wake up excited in the morning. I want to be able to go downstairs, have a cup of coffee, sit and do my meditation and post on that crazy Facebook page and have some fun doing it. I want to be able to open the doors up and learn new things, be able to take care of my body, and look at myself spiritually, and see the beauty inside of me as an individual, to take care of myself, to honor who I am, to celebrate it, to enjoy the people around me, but not to make them dependent on me. See, the concept is each person must be able to walk their own journey, but be able to ask those very powerful and beautiful words. Help me, guide me, show me, to ask for guidance, to ask for direction, and then be able to take that direction and to adjust it to your situation, whether it works or doesn't work, and see where it takes you. But don't do it alone. We keep thinking we have this thing in here that I can handle it. I can do it. I can solve all my own problems. I can be in control. Why do you think people end up with drugs and alcohol and stuff to that effect? Because they're stuck in their little trap. The adventure of life is opening up that door, getting out there, celebrating, seeing the beauty of yourself as an individual, getting in touch with your traits, your characteristics. I love that. And you know, the founders of AA, you know why I love them so much? Because on my desk, on my conference table, in my office, I have the manuscript of the big book. And I love looking at the old timers when they put this program together. Now, you know, I said it to you before. You had 39 recovering drunks in a room for 3 days, yelling, screaming, battling, and driving each other crazy. And they put together this beautiful masterpiece. How did they do it? They have no idea how they did it. You know, there had to be a divine presence working with them. And somehow they're able to put this package together. And they put these 12 steps. And then they put the rules with the 12 traditions. And those 12 steps say, oh, the way they did it is unique. The first 11 steps are for us to work on ourselves, nobody else, to do our work. And having done your work, then share it with others. Don't fix others, don't rescue others, just share it with others. Carry a message, you don't carry the person. Each one of us has to develop a sense of our own responsibility, our growth process. You know, I look back on my own life and I realize now, I look at my mom and you know what I say to her? I can't wait to get up there and talk to her and say, Mom, thank you. Thank you for putting me in a seminary when I was 14 years old. You saved me from you. It's fantastic. Because if I had stayed home, I would have been mama's little boy, probably till I was 90 years old. I never got out of there. Putting me in the seminary forced me to have to face reality, develop responsibility, definitely ask for help and God knew what the hell I was doing, because she didn't teach me anything. So I had to learn all over again and develop all over again. But I finally began to realize I'm the architect of my life. But I can't do it by myself. I need people to help me. I need a work crew to help me put this together. But that energy inside of us is so powerful and so beautiful. And Albert Einstein even said it. He said, human beings use at the most, if they're lucky, 15% of their potential. 15% of their potential. We are gifted. We are talented. We have powerful energy. We have healing energy inside of us. You know, what's interesting? The Indians years ago talked about this stuff. We don't listen because we're too busy trying to be in charge of this, in charge of that, and run this and run that, my way or the highway, all that crazy crap. It's nothing but crap. You can't control anybody. The Indians understood nature, the concept of nature, the connection to nature, the spirit, the energy and spirit. Whenever they had to go hunting and they had to kill something for food, the only way they would do it, they wouldn't do it for anything else. And they would worship the animal and thank the animal and present the animal spirit. And so as a result, then they learned the value of everything around them. And we don't realize this, though. We look around us and realize we don't see the value. And so as a result, then, I can't change the world. I can't change things. You know, the world's no different than anything else. You know, there's always going to be an empire, Roman Empire, Greek Empire, this empire, that empire. And, you know, they'll do their thing. I have to ask the question is, what am I doing? What's going on inside of me? You know, am I recycling? Am I doing this? Am I doing that? Am I taking care of my body? Am I celebrating who I am every day? Am I being grateful for all the individuals and people that are in my life? Am I grateful for the individuals I meet? Am I grateful for the little things in life? Don't look for the big things, the little things. Am I grateful to be able to sit down and sit next to somebody you really care about? We're all different. You know, my wife and I talk about this a lot. You know, we're totally different. My wife's extremely private. She's not out there. I'm not quite private. I'm on the other end of the spectrum. So we're at both ends of the spectrum. But I'm glad because I need that in my life. She gives me a little bit of sense of balance. At the same time, I help her out a little bit too. We go back and forth. It's all part of it. And so I'm learning the value of people around me. So every person I meet, no matter who it is, even Jerome, no matter who I meet, they are teachers in my life. Every one of you are a teacher in my life. And we're teachers in their lives. That's what it's really all about. But codependency means I try to hold on. I try to control. I want you to make me everything I'm supposed to be. That's a bunch of crap. It's not my job to make you be what you're supposed to be. It's your job. All I can do is plant some seeds, open some doors, give some suggestions, and then let go. Even the big book of AA talks about that all the time. It's the only piece of literature that does not have an author. It's the only piece of literature that actually everything in it is suggested. There are no absolutes in the big book. Isn't that amazing? Take what you can use and leave the rest. Be open to this. Be open to new things and new directions. And I don't think the founders, when they put this together, were saying, you know what, we got to get this right because, 80 years from now, there's going to be a lot of different 12-step programs. I don't think they were thinking that way. They were just trying not to pay off a drink. It's all they were trying to do. And they put together a program to deal with. I really believe that the higher power, God, whatever you choose to call that, the divine presence, I truly believe that it works when we try to stop controlling it. We get into the spirit of life, the flow of life, the concept of life. That's what's so important. And that's what relationships really are all about. If I truly do work on a relationship with me and respect this powerful body called me, then I will attract into my life the people I am supposed to experience it with. But those people will come and they will go. Some will stay longer. Some will actually be teachers negatively in my life too. That's okay. Need a combination of them all so I can learn different things and grow and develop. And so I share that with you because I want us to be able to understand the difference between codependency and interdependency. In interdependency, I need things in my life, but if they go away, I adjust accordingly so I can get my needs met in many different places, not just in one place. Remember the spokes in that wheel I talked about way back? You only have one spoke, the wheel's not going anywhere. I need a community. I need people. I need to be connected. I learn from the people around me. And that means I have to stay away from judgment. I have to be open to new experiences and new growth. So please, please, please remember, you are the most important person on the face of this earth. You are God's creation. You are gifted. Respect that gift naturally and normally. Honor it, share it, and be who you are. Celebrate who you are. Celebrate each moment of your life. And that relationship you're developing is something you're going to work on, hopefully one day at a time, till about 50 years after you're dead. But we keep working on it. It's not a problem at all. So let's pray tonight and ask God just to help us on this journey, to continue this aspect of breaking the bonds of codependency and open up to our interconnection to the world around us. Let us pray. God, we come before you in prayer. We ask the God of our understanding, our higher power, our higher presence, to guide us and be with us as we go on this beautiful journey called life. Teach us to realize that we're going to experience both hardship, going to experience dysfunctional situations, we're going to experience the pitfalls of life. But let's try to look at them in a positive way, to learn, to grow, to experience from all the experiences we go through in life. negative or positive. Know that you are constantly sending teachers and people into our life, basically to be able to be a teacher, to learn. And we need many teachers in life, dear God. Please help us. Help us to be open to new things, new directions, and teach us to break those bonds of expectations, of expecting someone or someone to be everything. Remember, you are who you're supposed to be. You have the energy, you have the love, you have the potential, you have the beauty. God, please teach us to respect and honor what we have, to respect all the beautiful gifts, the energy. And if we can only just some way, God, please help us to stay out of our head and stay connected to our spirit. We'll experience so much beauty and so much love. And that is the gift we pray for every day. The gift of spirit, the gift of life, the gift of celebration, the gift of hurting, the gift of pain, to look at everything as a gift. Help us to grow and learn from all the experiences of life, and to learn and be open to ask for your help and the help of those around us. We pray and we ask this tonight, and we ask this in your name. Amen.
God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.